Welcome to the Great on Purpose podcast. My name is Alfonso Alexander and I am your host. In each episode of this podcast, you will have the opportunity to get to meet leaders from various backgrounds, various industries who are really just cool people doing great things on purpose. They are pursuing their purpose and pursuing greatness and walking in lockstep as they do it. You'll understand what we mean more about that as you get into the podcast. Our goal here is to help you understand that being great is not just something that happens. It is something that has to be done on purpose and in alignment with your purpose. Therefore, this is the Great on Purpose podcast. Enjoy. Today's episode, Journey to Health, features Demetris Chaney-Perkins. Demetris is a transformation specialist. She is the owner of Journey Fitness and the host of Deeper Than the Diet podcast. She is a certified nutrition coach and holds a master's degree in counseling psychology. Her passion for the mental and physical health of others is evident in everything she does. Demetris has been serving hundreds of men and women for over 7 years through the Journey Fitness nutrition programs. Take a listen. Hello, everyone. This is Alfonso Alexander, and thank you for joining us at the Great on Purpose podcast. We are so excited today because we have my good friend, Demetris Chaney-Perkins, who's going to share some insight and some thoughts on how you can be great on purpose. I have known this lady for a while now, and I have watched her grow, progress, move forward personally, professionally, and physically as she is marching on her journey toward greatness and doing it on purpose. Demetris, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm excited about it.
Hey, I am so excited to have you here, and you are going to be one of our champions for an area that is so very important to me, as you know, and that's health and fitness. I know you do a lot more than that, but you are an expert in that as well as other things. We'll talk about as much of it as we can, but I really, really want the world to know and understand about Journey, pun intended, fitness and your journey towards greatness. So why don't you just take a moment and tell everybody a little bit about you and kind of what's going on in your life these days.
So thank you again for having me. I'm so excited to share this opportunity with everybody and just to share my brand. So, of course, Alfonso, you've known me since 2010.
Wow.
And as you mentioned, you've seen me grow, change physically, professionally, just in every area. So you kind of already talked a little bit about what Journey Fitness is about. So specifically, my brand or my focus is on people like me, people who started late. If you started 40 and over, I'm specifically called to that person who's done everything to get it done and still kind of felt short. That professional who doesn't have time to find out what to eat or to identify what to do. I was that person. So that's really the audience I'm called to serve. So it kind of has grown from being an individual nutrition coach to now a group coach, and I am moving more in the area of corporate wellness, which is where you will come in.
Okay.
Most recently, the most recent feat I've taken on is I started my own podcast, and it has a lot to do with the journey, but it is called Deeper Than the Diet. And kind of a part of my journey was figuring out my why I did what I was doing, what was motivating those moves. And in doing so, I recognized this really has less to do with what you're supposed to eat and more to do with how you think. So it was a great opportunity to combine both passions together. So that's what I'm doing now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You hit some things that are hot buttons for me. You talked about the why. And, we named this the Great on Purpose podcast because that why component is really connected with your purpose. Absolutely. And you can't really be great at something if it's not in alignment with your purpose. unless it's a great failure. You can be a great failure,
Yeah.
but anything that's worth something, you have to be in alignment with your purpose to be great at it. And that's one thing that we really focus on. And part of what can drive you to pursue that purpose is that why. So when you were talking about understanding your why and the psychology behind the fitness and that journey, that's what people, I think, don't understand and really miss. So talk a little bit about connecting your why and your journey.
Absolutely. So for me, what's really important to do, especially when you're trying to refine your purpose, is really focus on the why. And the why has to be three-dimensional. If it's only focused on one dimension, why you do it only benefits you, what happens when you give up? It was only connected to you. What happens when you're tired or you don't feel like it? That's the danger of having it one-dimensional. But when it really is three-dimensional, like a why, when it really is connected to God's purpose for your life, your purpose to the family, and your purpose for the community, there is so much holding it together that when one fails, you still have two other whole areas that has subcomponents that keep you tied. So it's really about building roots to your purpose. That's very, very important to do. And once you have that root system, your why is extended in several different directions. Not only is it impossible to quit, but it's impossible not to grow. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's amazing. So wait a minute, let me make sure I'm following you here. So if I don't feel like doing it for myself today, and my why is aligned like it should be, then I've got to say, well, I don't feel like doing it for myself. Maybe I need to do it because this is what God is calling me to do. But maybe even if that's not enough, maybe I need to do it for my community, which could be my family, my friends, other people that I engage with. So one of those can be stronger on certain days than others, but all three of them would be enough to make me move if I'm really in tune with what I'm trying to do for my purpose.
Absolutely. And as you begin to grow in the direction of your why, you're going to have several different branches in the community, several different branches with your purpose to God, several different branches within your family. So not only does that branch hold you together, but all of the fruit connected to it keeps you tied.
Oh man, so my why is now going 3D. It's turning into a tree.
Yes.
It's got fruit coming off of it, leaves coming off of it, all of that.
Yes. So when people say to me, how do you stay, or what makes you stay? That is really it. The why has to be strong. It has to be there. Yeah. It all starts with that. Everything else branches off of the why.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So Demetris, we gotta get personal here a little bit. Okay. So one of the things that I always try to help people that listen understand is the power of connection.
Yeah.
And you need to be connected to the right people. And so I always say, tell everybody how we know each other, what the extent of our relationship is. And then if you don't tell it right, I'll come behind you and tell it the right way. So let me give you a chance to do that. And then I want to go back to some history on that.
Yeah. Okay. So we met in 2010. I was transitioning from another ministry that I was a part of when my husband got married. My husband and I got married, and we later, in discussing our spiritual growth together, wanted to select a ministry that we both felt like was equally beneficial to us spiritually. So we moved to Mount Zion, and I reached out to Bishop Walker and I said, hey, Bishop, we are still newly married, about 5 years. And we were very interested in growing a part of my why, which is my connection in my family, and just that growth in my marriage. And he said, you have to connect with Alfonso Alexander. So I have to thank you for being a platform for my marriage to grow. What you did inside the ministry, what I actually watched you do with your family and your kids. So you are a very pivotal part of my relationship with my husband and our ability to communicate with each other. Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't know. I knew we connected through that ministry, but I didn't know that. So I'm really glad to know that. Tell Larry I said hello. By the way, on that.
So another thing that I want to do in terms of that history and talk about that is, when I mentioned earlier, I've watched the journey that both you and Larry have been on as it relates to just life, period. But I saw both of you kind of transform, you first, and then he. Everybody doesn't know that. So we've got people that listen from literally all over the world now. So tell us a little bit about, like, in 2010, where you were physically and where you are now, and kind of what that journey is like.
Yeah, so in 2010, I was in one of the most intensive graduate programs I've ever been in my life. And that was Vanderbilt's Psychiatric Nurse Practitioner Program. Alfonso, I thought that program was going to take a sister out of here. It was the most difficult thing I had ever done, but I had a scholarship, and there were several people who were rooting me on. My family's just proud. Everybody's proud. But deep down, it was a struggle because I knew that the reasons I was doing had everything to do with money, and really very little to do with purpose. So it literally became just so overwhelming, so much so that I decided to leave the program and went into like this deep depression. So the weight gain food was it for me. That was it. That it comforted me. I felt great. And one day when I had to, now consider I was a size 8. When I had to buy my first size 16, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. I thought, there's no way I can't stay right here. So I literally just I began to take baby steps. I started just walking in the park and reading food labels and just making very tiny changes, nothing extreme. And that consistency in doing that, I was able to lose 25 pounds before I even went in the gym. So by the time I started this, I was 203 pounds. By the time I ended, I was definitely under 150. So definitely there was a journey there. But what I also saw is my husband started to make changes on his own. I never put pressure on him. I never asked him. I never told him. I just started changing me. Yeah. And as I started changing me and focusing on me, it literally began to change the environment in my home without me opening my mouth. He saw different food options in the house. So he started trying it. He saw that I felt better about me. I started looking a whole lot better. And he's like, I'm not about to be your fat boy. So I'm going to get into it too. So just the power of how your consistency and your why literally impacts everything you're connected to, it really motivated me more. So he's like, you motivated me. I'm like, no, you really motivate me to stick to it because I know the power of the why.
That's amazing. And that just says to me that that's in alignment with your purpose, because if you are just doing what you're doing, he picks up on it, and now you guys are motivating each other. That just says that that's alignment right there, because you weren't even consciously trying to influence each other. And what that also says is that there's some leadership in there, because leadership is all about influence. If you are a leader, you are an influencer. And so Demetris, I'll share this with you. You were leading without even realizing that you were leading, because you were influencing. And that also says that that's alignment with your purpose, because you were being what I call this thermostat instead of the thermometer. You were changing the environment, and other people picked up on it. And in this case, it was Larry, because I know I had not seen you guys in a while, and then I saw you and I was like, both of y'all are half of who you used to be. It was amazing. I mean, and just your energy level was up. It was just awesome. So fun to see and so great to see. So when I say that you're a leader and you're influencing, you're leading other people as and facilitating them as they go on these journeys now. So talk to me about your leadership style and how you help people be better tomorrow than they are today.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think what makes me effective as a leader is because I was my first client. I was my number one. So I come from a genuine place of empathy. I know what it feels like to try and feel like you failed. And also it's a great deal of humility there too. I lead from that place. I lead from knowing I had to have help too. So not only am I leading you with empathy, but I'm also leading you knowing that I've been led myself. You know what I mean? So I approach it from that standpoint, but I help people to see that there's value in going slow.
Yeah.
It takes time to change behaviors and attitudes. That takes time to do. And the more patient you are with yourself in giving your brain and your body an opportunity to make this change first, consistency is just about doing something over and over to achieve a result. Once you've done that long enough, it's very possible for it to develop into discipline. Discipline is doing it because it's now a part of your core values. There's a commitment to value rather than a commitment to a certain result. So just staying with people on that path until they get there, that's what I do. That's what coaching is. Go slow. Gain what you need to gain. Do it bit by bit. Find what works with you. Be consistent. And once it becomes a discipline, no one has to stand over you. No one has to tell you you shouldn't do this or that. It's a part of your core value at this point. So everything grows from that discipline, not just what you look like on the outside. What you look like on who you are on the inside grows as a result of that. And because you're a different person, you're now putting a different person in your church, a different person in your community, a different person in your house. Everything changes.
You know, Demetris, we were talking one time, and similar to what I said about you, you said about me. Man, you look half of who you were before. And at that point, I'd lost 40 pounds. I was so committed to getting physically in shape before I hit 50, and then felt like that if I did that, I would maintain it as a lifestyle. And one of the things that you and I talked about was I did not know that I was feeling bad.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling that way all the time. And then when I lost weight, then I was feeling so much better. I was like, dang, I wasn't feeling good, but had no idea. What's your experience with that, or any of your clients? Have you guys ever had conversations like that with other people?
Yes, especially for men too, but primarily for women who are over 40, because there are so many changes happening in our hormones. Energy levels naturally falls off because estrogens drop. The little bit of testosterone that we did have is dropping too. And so by the time I get women, they're in tears. They're frustrated. They're like, Demetris, I'm doing cardio, I'm eating this. And when I ask, are you strength training? Well, no, I'm not really strength training. So the problem is that you have to do something to force your body to produce testosterone, because it's not going to do it on its own as a woman. So what I've had to help my clients embrace is the value in strength training, especially the older you get. It's going to reduce osteoporosis. It's going to increase libido. It's going to increase just your whole body structure. It's going to burn fat and do all of these kinds of things. So what I had to embrace for myself is the value of lifting. I think that is probably the pivotal thing that I've had to confront with regard to energy levels, specifically with women, helping them to value strength training.
Yeah, that's great. Do women still feel like that I'm going to look all muscular and all that? Is that still something, or do you think that's an excuse these days?
I think it may be a little bit of both, especially depending on the ages of the demographics. Most of the time I'm dealing with women who are over 40, and some of them still have the concept, well, I don't want to be bulky.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not what's going to happen, because you're not eating a diet that would do that. Those people you see that look like that, they work for that. They have to eat above their caloric intake needs, and you have to work to get there. But what they've been able to see is how much I eat and how I look. I never had this. You didn't ask this part, but I never had a round butt. We'll put it like that. Never. And these women come to me and they want round butts and flat stomachs. How do you get that? Work, lifting weights, eating clean, and being consistent, getting up again every day and doing it. So they know it doesn't make you bulky because they see me and they've seen where I've been. Yeah.
You know, today is Thursday. It's supposed to be my off day, but I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go work out.
All right.
I'm going. You got me fired up. You got me fired up. No, hey, just teasing. But how do you identify yourself? Are you a trainer? You a coach? Seems like you're beyond just what somebody might go Google. Let me find a fitness person. How do you define yourself?
That is a great question because I've worked as I began rebranding, I've put that in one word, and I would say a transformation specialist.
A transformation specialist. I love it.
Yeah, because I'm working from every end. It's not just nutrition. It's not just gym workout. It's not just mental. It's all three of them combined. And it takes all three to transform. So when I'm working with an individual client or whether if it's in a group setting, that is the goal, to transform inside out.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. So Demetris, you know me, as you mentioned, for a long time. And, you know, I don't ever like to leave a conversation without asking, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Or how can I help you? So now's the time I want to ask you that question. What can I do to be helpful to you?
Yeah, so I had to think about it, and I was going to give a generic answer because I think what you've done already is helpful. I'm not going to do that. But in the direction that my brand is moving in, I am definitely wanting to be in more spaces of corporate wellness. My goal is to bring to the professional what they are not able to go out and get themselves. If it is a training that they're having, or if it is a board meeting, if it's an open lunch, to be able to prevent key components of what leaders need to do to transform. A lot of times they don't have access to this information as easily, or they're overworked and can't pursue it on their own. So I would like to be that go-to corporate wellness person that's just incorporated into what they do. So if you could create those spaces for me, whether it is a Zoom call, a podcast, an in-person presentation, that would do everything I need to move the brand forward.
I got you. I've got some ideas around it. Make sure that we talk. I've got some ideas and some folks that I can connect you with through some of the HR leaders that I know that would probably welcome an opportunity to bring a unique approach to wellness in, particularly now that we're doing so much via technology. You could do some things and come in and encourage, motivate, show techniques and some of those things. And I think that might be attractive to some of these folks that they can make available to employees at their companies.
Awesome. That is the direction we're growing in.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad to do that. So before we close, you mentioned that you have a podcast. Tell everybody the name of the podcast so they can go check you out.
Yeah, so the name of the podcast is Deeper Than the Diet. The podcast focuses on mainly two components. We want to bridge the connection between trauma and health, and specifically the diet when it comes to health. There are so many things going on in our head that are influencing what we choose to eat. You have no idea. Yeah. So
you can help me understand why when I've had a long day and I've been rushing and all this, I rush to go get me some wings or a hamburger and some French fries. You can help me understand why that happens for me that day versus other days.
Absolutely. That day, and why it may have not started as an adult. It may go back to a childhood coping strategy.
I love it. I love it, man. We have to bring you. I'm going to go listen to the podcast, but we need to bring you back so you can talk about that, because I think it's so very important for leaders and people who are striving to achieve greatness to understand that they have to take care of the physical component so that they can have the energy to do all of the things that are aligned with their purpose as they travel this journey toward greatness. Absolutely. And so we got to have you back to talk some more about some of that and some of these other things. For those people that are out listening, what would you like to share in closing?
So just in closing, I would encourage you to not do this alone. If you are new to this journey, support, there's definitely power in numbers. You don't have to do it alone. You can connect with me via social media, J2 Fit Nutrition on Instagram, and I think this information will be connected to what's offered. J2 Fit Nutrition on Facebook. I also have a free group on Facebook called Journey Fitness, where I give out tons of free tips. The email, not the email address, but the website, j2fitnutrition.com. Lots of services listed there. I think the takeaway would be, don't do it alone.
I love it. I love it. And I'm in closing, I just want people to really, truly understand. Demetris said she was over 200, got down to under 150 because she was committed to this. And Demetris, you had to be like 5'8", 5'9", I think.
5'9", yeah.
5'9". So Demetris is a tall lady. And what I have seen is that journey, on that journey, she's competed and won some fitness competitions and all of this. So this is real stuff. And the key thing is she said she started late. So it's never too late to get on this journey when you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing. And she looks so much better. She's impacted her environment, her husband. I'm telling you, her husband is stealth. He's in shape, working all the time, working out. They together are on this journey. So I really appreciate them. And I appreciate you for being here, Demetris. I know that what you're doing is part of your purpose. And I'm watching you do great things on your journey to achieving this greatness that we're all striving to get to. And I'm seeing it every day. And I know that it's on purpose. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. We'll get you back again. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Great on Purpose podcast. We appreciate you listening in to us. Go check out Demetris and all the things that she's doing. She gave you her social media platforms, and I'm gonna let her say one more thing before we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and GreatCombo.com.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Everywhere you live. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Demetris, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Great on Purpose podcast, where we try to help you understand how you can be great on purpose. You have to be intentional. Thank you for listening. Come check us out again. We'll be back. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to the Great on Purpose podcast. I am Alfonso Alexander. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook so that you can continue to hear stories and get information that can help inspire you to be great on purpose.